Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to Autogefühl and welcome to Texas. They say everything's bigger here, and now that includes Volkswagen's latest offering, the Volkswagen Atlas. We're going to have a look at it in full detail, full HD and full width. Volkswagen already have an extremely popular small SUV, and of course in the premium line they have the Touareg as well, but they do have a gap in the market in the mid-size segment, and of course everybody wants a 7-seater, so enter the Atlas. It's also very competitively priced with an entry price of only $30,000. The design and styling of this vehicle have really been based on very clean principles, and nowhere I think is that better expressed than at the front. One of the features I really like about American designed cars, and this one is built exclusively in Chattanooga, is that you don't always have to accommodate a front license plate. That's because not all of the states require for you to have one. And that really is a designer's dream, because it allows you to have completely clean lines that are uninterfered with. Of course, if you're unlucky enough to live in a state where you have to have one, I'm sure you'll figure out where to put it. But for now, here in Texas, it's very nice to see just what the designers intended. It's a very clean run right throughout the front. It looks solid and stable as it sits on the road. I really like the way the chrome grille runs straight into these lights, which on all models are full LED across the front. Coming through to the side of the car, you can see the designer's most important detail, and that's this line. It runs right the entire length of the car, from the front and right through into the back. That really emphasizes the perspectives here. The wheels that we have on our car are 20-inch, but standardly they come at 18. And the whole way that the car is put together from the side is to make it look solid, but still sporty, and try and take away a little from that enormous, nearly 200-inch length of the car. I really like this chrome strip that runs the length of the door. It makes it look stylish, but not overstated. We have large angular wing mirrors here, and nice plastic trim across the bottom and at the wheel arches. Again, really serving to address that this is a utilitarian vehicle. You're supposed to take it out. You're not supposed to be afraid of taking it into a little bit of mud or some rough ground. But at the same time, you should feel good about how it looks and the job that it's going to do. Coming through to the back, I really like the styling. Viewers of the last clip that I made might remember it's important for me to ask what happens when I sit behind this car for 6 hours on a freeway. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty pleased with this. Again, the features are not overblown. They don't seem too dramatic, but they certainly do reinforce the solidity of the vehicle. This nice chrome strip with the model name, a nice subtle black rear view. Again, more detailing here, and then a plastic finish at the bottom. While we're at the bottom, it's worth pointing out the payload of this vehicle is up to 5,000 pounds, but that's only if you have a tow hook fitted by Volkswagen. If you have an aftermarket, you don't get quite so much. Now, when Volkswagen talk about their design language for this vehicle, it's all about the horizontal lines. And again, for me, the back really illustrates that. It's a very clever way of making an extremely large car look like it's manageable. Okay, so here's the key fob. As you can see, it's a little bit understated, nothing too amazing about that, but it does obviously feature remote access to the trunk and also remote start, which is always nice in those colder nights. So we've got keyless entry for the car. Let's have a look and see how well that works. Ah, nice. As we open the door up, we can see that the wing mirror, which had folded itself away, has opened back up for us. and allows us to have a full look at the interior of this car. So, first impressions, we have nice soft touch plastic along the side of the window. That's always good. This is where your arm rests, so you want to feel comfortable. We have a wood inlay here with a graphite style plastic inlay, a chrome effect door, and then in this model we have the fender grille for the speakers with the locks. Slightly lower down, armrest, window controls, mirror adjustment, and we can see a really nice large pocket here for storing drinks, and another release for the boot. So now let's get inside the car and see how that is. Okay, first thing to mention is entrance to the vehicle is actually really pretty straightforward. Now you might notice that I sit in a slightly odd position. That's because of my slightly odd body. I've got very short legs, but actually quite a long torso. I can tell you that's only because of where I have the seat. The reason I mention that is it's a very easy car to get in and out of. The height's good, the seat position's good, and that means if you have different challenges with your vehicle, you should find this one pretty straightforward. The seat itself is extremely comfortable. It offers you a wide variety of options. One second. That's a Boxster. You kind of have to make a little space for those. So we have multiple adjustments that we can make. You can raise or lower the height of the seat, obviously forwards and backwards, obviously changing the rake. You can also adjust the lumbar support and the amount of grip that the seat gives you. It's a memory seat, and that means that up to 3 different people can have it set up just for them. That's a feature I really like, as anyone who's had to drive for an hour and a half down the highway trying to find what they did with their seat can agree. So, looking at slightly more detail at the interior, you can see here a reinforcement of what I was talking about from the back. It's all about the horizontal lines. I know that's just designer talk, but you really can feel that reinforced here. The levels look and feel right to you, and that's really important, especially for not experiencing fatigue on a longer drive. Now, we've put in around about 4 hours in this car today, and I can tell you, I don't feel remotely tired because of it. It works. That's all I'm going to say. The styling is nice. It's really relaxed. You can see here we have plastic or rubber soft touch, which is designed to look a little like leather. I think you might know I'm not the world's biggest fan of that, but it works. We've got the sun hard hitting this stuff, and it doesn't look cheap and horrible, which for me is always a good plus. Frameless mirror up top. I think they could have done a slightly nicer job with this. It's still black plastic around the edges. I think it could be improved a little touch. Let's see what we have up here. We've got, of course, the fantastic sunroof, which is enormous. That's an option. Again, we have the top model, so we have it. It really is nice. Don't forget, though, it does cost you a little bit in head height if you have one fitted. Just so you can see, I'm 5'10" in height. That's the available space. As I mentioned before, though, I do have quite a large torso, so the seat has quite a long way to drop if you want to have a little bit more room up top. There's more than enough space, though, so even a tall person is not going to struggle with this car. We have here the controls for the sunroof. Slightly further back, we have an emergency call-out function and also abilities to let people know if we're having mechanical issues with the car. That's a really nice feature. It obviously allows you to stay in touch with Volkswagen and make sure that you're getting the help you need when you need it. Here we have 3 programmable buttons. They're really useful if you use anything like an infrared for controlling your garage when you get home. You can program that into the car. Slightly further down, we have the controls for the lighting. I have literally no idea what this button does, but how about this? Let's turn the car on and find out. This could be a terrible idea. Here we go. Okay, there it is. We have a tilt function on the sunroof, so that's nice. If you don't want to pull it back completely, you also can open it slightly just to let in a little bit of air while you're driving. I really like that feature. So while we've got the car on, let's take a look at the display and see what some of the options that we can pull up are. It's a fully digital display, as you can see. I think it's really nicely laid out. It's not too obtrusive, and it does give you an awful lot in terms of flexibility about what you want to look at and how you want it to appear while you're driving. So here's a thought. While we've got it up, let's just have a look and see what kind of economy we've been getting out of this vehicle since we've been driving it. Bearing in mind, we haven't been driving it at any kind of a crazy rate, but we have been getting a good look at lots of different road types and lots of different speed and acceleration. So let's have a look. We go to views, economy and range. And here we go. You can see how that's changed the entire display to work for you while you're driving. And you can see that we've achieved an average of 17.7 miles per gallon. We did ask Volkswagen what the numbers for this car were, but they say they haven't officially been approved yet. So although they have them, they can't share them with us. So obviously we like real world testing. It's really good to get an idea of what we think the car can actually deliver. And to be honest with you, for a car this size, and bearing in mind we really did want to see how it accelerated, I don't think 18 miles per gallon is such a bad figure. So now we come to the infotainment system, and as you will know, we're driving the top model, and that means we have the top model of infotainment system. You know, I'm quite a fan of the inset buttons on the cheaper systems, so there's nothing here that stylistically says to me, oh, I really have to spend the extra on that. But that said, it is nice the way it integrates fully with the dashboard, and as you can see there, I believe this is called progressive touch. That means that the system is aware if you're trying to access it, and it will automatically pull up menus for you. There's a full range of different options that you would expect with this vehicle, and some nice extras as well. Clearly, being a Volkswagen, the range of different assistance systems that you can have are huge. All the standard ones are there. We've tried out the cruise control earlier, which is of course adaptive and is really, really nice. In assistance with the 8-speed gearbox, you'll find that it slows down really effortlessly when you have traffic coming up that you're not expecting, and then picks up the speed immediately after with no stress to you whatsoever. That's a big plus. Here within the system, because we have the top model, we have the integrated Fender speaker system that works really, really well. We'd love to be able to show you it, but sadly we can't because of the music sound copyrights. But we have a range of different features as well. As you can see, we have Android Auto and MirrorLink. I have connected my phone to the car. It really was effortless. You can use the car as a mobile hotspot. As you can see here, that's our Wi-Fi signal, and we can connect straight to that. The whole system works more or less exactly as you would expect it to. Now, I guess that's mostly a positive thing, because the Volkswagen system is a very good one. On the downside, it doesn't really do anything to delight you. I haven't managed to find anything here so far that's made me chuckle with pleasure, because I haven't seen it on every other Volkswagen I've driven. Again, that's possibly a bit unfair. It does do what it does very well indeed. It's just not setting my world on fire. But you know, you can't have everything. As is typical with Volkswagen, I like the uncluttered nature of the display. As you'd expect on this kind of system, it is of course multi-touch. And I have to tell you, as with every other car that tells you it's multi-touch, yeah, it's okay. It works pretty fantastically when you're stationary and you have the time and attention to look at it. But when you're driving and you need to zoom in and out of a map, it's not an iPad. I know that's an obvious thing to say, but it is important to remember. It works very well as long as you remember that. And in Volkswagen, they always put in this extra knob over here, which allows you to have that functionality without needing to interfere with the screen while you're driving. And that is a lot less confusing for when you just want to know what's there in slightly closer detail. Coming down the central console slightly, we can see all the controls for heating and climate control. So in this model, we have heated front seats. We also have cooled front seats. That's a nice touch. We have the standard heating controls. Obviously, they're zonal, so the passenger can have different requirements to the driver. That's a nice feature. We have a heated steering wheel. We have automatic stop-start, which if you really don't like that, I have to tell you, on this car, it's really not annoying at all. I didn't really notice it. Some cars you drive, you instantly look to switch that off. But if it's not your thing, you can control that and switch that off. Obviously hazard warning lights, and you can switch the passenger airbag off. That's a particularly nice feature if you want to put an infant in the front. You obviously have to disengage that if you want to put a car seat in. So it's nice that they've given you the option. Slightly further down, we have a 12-volt charging point. Next to that, we have a USB connection. You can use that to connect your phone directly to the car or simply for charging. And we have the old standby that I personally love, the aux in for the stereo. Every time you think you don't want one, you wish that you had one. So it's nice that they've remembered to put that in, maybe just for me. Coming slightly further back, two large, generous cup holders, a nice, sophisticated, I would say unobtrusive gear selector. This is the drive mode selector. That's really simple to reach for and use while you're driving. Here you can activate the rear parking camera, and there's also automatic parking available for this car. We haven't had the time to try that out, but I understand it works really very well. Keep us posted. If we get this as a test car, we will definitely be making a point of giving that a go. Here we have an electronic parking brake, and then the surround is all this nice piano black lacquer. As I'm always saying, it looks great when it's new. Will it scratch when it gets older? Will it show up the fingerprints? Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it will, but then I guess everything does. Let's have a look and see what the storage is like. So in a car of this size, I'm expecting an enormous storage bin. I wouldn't buy a 7-seat car unless I knew I could fit more or less everything that I wanted between the front two seats. So let's have a look and see how they've done. Oh, that's not bad, is it? I think I could fit really quite a decent amount of stuff in there. We have another USB point. This isn't just for charging. You can also connect direct to the car for there. These are some things the manufacturer left us in just to connect some products. I like this. It's simple. It isn't filled with a load of stuff you don't want. It's just a really big space to keep all the clutter you need while you're driving. Let's see how the passenger does for space. All right, so we haven't looked in here yet. Drum roll. Is it going to be capable of holding anything more than just a biro? No. Okay, I've seen worse. I've seen better too. Here we do have the option for CD. Hooray, they haven't been completely forgotten. And look at this. I've never seen this before. We have 4 SD card slots. That can come in really, really handy. So the glove box isn't completely useless. We do have room here for more than just the owner's manual, which I like. It doesn't matter how well organized your car is, you're always going to find that you want somewhere to put your things and shut the door and pretend that it isn't in there. So at least we have the space in this car to do that. So now it's time to have a look in the back. Wow. Okay, now I've done something here quite intentionally. You can see that my seat, the driver's seat, is as far forward as I would need it to drive. I'm always a little wary of that make the back look larger than it actually is. So for that reason, the passenger seat is much further back so you can get a realistic feel on how much room there is back there. I'm going to sit back in that row and show you exactly how it feels in just a moment, but first I want to show you the third row. Now the reason for that is because Volkswagen have fitted a really nice innovation into this car that I want to show you. Let me come through. Okay, so you'll be more than familiar with the way of accessing the third row in most cars by either sliding the seat out of the way or folding it down or similar. And this is no different. You can see the pivot on the bottom and this folds completely flat. Wow, that's superb for load space. I'll show you later when we look at the boot just quite how much room that gives you. But what's so great about the design of this is that, as you may have seen when I folded the seats over, we have tether points on these seats. What does that mean? It means child seats. How many child seats? Well, I'm happy to tell you, 3 across the second row. Hooray! Finally! A car manufacturer has allowed us to fit 3 children on the second row of seats. That's great! But you know what isn't great? What happens when you take half an hour, 45 minutes to fit a child seat and then you want to get into the third row? Aha! Finally a solution. Watch this. Having spent more of my life than I care to think about fitting and removing children's seats, I can tell you that this is an absolutely fantastic innovation. As you can see, it allows the whole row to pivot, which means that with the children's seats even in and fitted, I have more than enough space to get even somebody who finds it challenging to get into a third row. Let's have a look and see what that does. Well, it was actually pretty simple to get all the way back here. And now that I'm here, I want to see how much room I have. We all know what third rows can sometimes be like when it comes down to adults. So I'm going to pull the seat back and find out how much space I have. You know what? You'd have to say that's not bad. I have more than enough room for my knees back here. The car's been well designed to assume that most of the time you're not going to have anyone back here. So these seats with their headrests have been put way low down. Why have they done that? Well, it means not only do they fold to be much smaller, but it also means when you're driving the car, you have a much better visibility through the rear. I'm a big fan of that. As soon as you have passengers back here, there's the headrest, there's the seat, and you know what? I can be perfectly happy sitting back here for a long time. I've got my own ventilation points, which is important. I even have my own built-in cup holders back here, and I even have a little storage area for stuff. My children would go nuts for that. So now let's take a look at the second row. The reason I wanted to film this way is because I haven't done these things before, and I really wanted to see how realistic and easy this car is to use. And I hope that's working for you. If you think this is good, please let us know. And if it's not your thing, let us know that too. Okay, let's have a look. Hard to imagine how that could be a lot easier. Now to get out, we've got a nice handle on top here. So again, if I'm challenged, if I'm an older person, well, I've got to be honest, this is a little harder. So I'm not likely to want to put older people back here, but I could if I had to. Yeah, that didn't feel so natural. This is where you're going to do most of your sitting in the back, and it's great. I really don't think it's unreasonable to call this cavernous. You might have seen when I'm in the back, these two seats are slightly further forwards than the third one. They have a full range of mobility with this lever under here, and there's so much room. It's really fantastic. I have my own heating controls, and in this car I have my own heated seats. That's nice. I also have 2 USB charge points. That's great. And best of all, a 115 volt charging socket. Fantastic. That's going to come in more than handy. So a car like this is about 2 things. One is about fitting the most amount of people that is reasonable to fit into a family car. And the second is, of course, how much stuff will it take? Let's have a look. Well, they do sell on this car an automatic opening trunk. I just use the standard pressure release. I like that. That's not bad at all, is it? This is the available space that you have with all of the seats in their fully upright position. I like these storage compartments on each side. Let's see what's underneath. Aha! It's another subwoofer. So this is obviously part of the Fender kit. You can see the logo just here. I wish we could show you, but you'll have to take our word for it. The sound's really, really good. We have the tools over here in their own molded compartment, and another couple of containers for putting extra things in. So nicely thought out. Let's see how easily we can access the extra space. That's pretty simple, isn't it? So standard catches on the top, and then Velcro straps if we want to lift back up. That's nice, isn't it? So our space just got a lot bigger. But you know what? Every now and then, you just kind of need to move a sofa. Let's find out how that looks. Remember earlier when I said that you were really going to like those fold flat seats? Well, I wasn't kidding. How nice is that? Just imagine all the things you could fit in the back of this vehicle. With all the seats upright, you get 20.6 cubic feet of space. If you only want to fold the third row down, you get 55.5. But with everything folded flat like this, you can fit 96.8 cubic feet of load room in the back of your car. And I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty much as much space as you're ever going to need for anything. Let's take a look and see what's powering this thing. Gas strut. So it's always a bit of a concern when you have a car this size that you open up the hood and you find yourself a little disappointed with what's lying underneath it. Well, no such experience here. As you can see from our engine, we have the more powerful of the 2 available engines. This is a 3.6 litre VR6 producing 276 horsepower. I think it's really nice. It's got plenty of power for everything that you can need. There is a smaller one available. That's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo producing 235 horsepower. Unfortunately, we haven't had the opportunity to try that, but if it performs as well as this one does, I'm sure it'll be great. So that's a lot of talk. Obviously, what we really need to know is, how does it drive? Well, actually not badly. Maybe I'm being a bit unfair, but it is a very large vehicle. We have the more powerful of the two engines here. That's a 3.6 litre petrol with a V6. Let's see what that does. That's foot down to the floor. It's not bad. I think the only reason I might be being a little bit picky is bearing in mind there are only 2 of us in the car at the moment. And if this car was fully loaded with 7 people plus equipment, it's probably not going to give you that much pickup. But this is the more powerful of the 2 engines that are available, and so far from my driving experience, this really is the one you're going to need to go with. Whichever engine you select, they both come with an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and that's very pleasing. Volkswagen's really done a lot to refine their automatic gearboxes, and this one's no exception whatsoever. You don't experience any lag, there's no notice between the gear changes, it's very smooth and precise, and it's nice. Well, I would say for a car of this size, the first thing you're really going to want to get into when you're making a decision as to how it compares to the other cars within this sector is the performance and handling. So, performance for the more powerful engine is nice. It's not going to blow you away, but it is a larger SUV, so I wouldn't expect it to. Handling is a really pleasant surprise. It's nice and tight and receptive around bends, and there's not too much body roll. I've been very pleasantly surprised by that. Braking is good, it's responsive, but again, you must remember there are only 2 of us in this car, and that changes an awful lot when you fully load them. The ride experience overall is pleasant. It was obviously very important to the designers of this car that when you sat in it, you felt low down in the vehicle. That really adds to the feeling of both safety that the larger car gives you, but also it keeps some of the sportiness which you lose as you get higher off the ground. All the controls are laid out excellently. I'm sorry, but you do kind of expect that with a Volkswagen anyway, but it's nice, it's intuitive. You have all of the controls on the left side of the steering wheel for your cruise control. On the right, we have our phone and our display controls. There are various different things which we can go through on the display, which we can have a look at while we're driving, from economy and range through to navigation and driver assistance systems. Obviously, this is the top model, so it comes with all the whistles and bells. There really is a lot to dig into if you want to start getting more and more information. I like to keep things quite simple while I'm driving because it keeps my concentration where it should be, which is on the road. The windshield is nice and uncluttered. There's nothing here distracting my attention. We have a borderless mirror for the rear. That's not too big and dominant. The front, the dashboard is discreet and subtle. Again, it doesn't take any of your attention away from the drive, which really is where it should be. The steering wheel is a little untypically small for a vehicle like this, but I like that. Again, like with the seating position, it lets you know that just because you're in a larger car, you can still feel a little bit sporty while you're driving it. That, incidentally, is helped by the fact that we have different driving modes that we can select while we're going, as well as being able to tell the car if we want to go off-road or we want to drive in snow. We're not going to do that today. We can choose between normal, eco, or sport modes. We're in sport mode at the moment. I have to be honest, of the car's different features, this is one that maybe I think could have been done a little bit more with. There isn't a hugely significant difference between the sport and the standard driving mode. I'm going to show you what I mean about that right now. We're driving currently at 65. Let's put our foot down and see what happens. And we're at 70. So it's not the worst acceleration in the world for this type of car. I just feel it could have offered me a little bit more. For a direct comparison, let's see what the difference is when we change that to normal. So now we're in normal driving mode. Again, I'm at 65, foot flat down, and 70. So really, the thing that you notice more than anything else is the sound of the engine has changed. I know that's something that all the manufacturers do. I just really like to feel that when I push the sports function, that's what I get from the drive. Two of the major things that you notice about the drive characteristics in this vehicle come from the vehicle that it is. It has 20-inch rims. Now, obviously, when you go with a larger rim, you get less tire, and oftentimes that results in a harsher ride and more road noise. We've both been very pleasantly surprised by the lack of road noise in this car. This is not a smooth road, but the car is handling it beautifully, and I don't feel every single bump and detail of the road. They've really put a lot of effort into making sure that this delivers a nice, smooth driving experience. Talking about sound, one of the most common questions that we get asked is always about the stereo. Now, sadly, because of rights issues, we can't crank it up and really show you what it's got. But I can tell you it's a Fender system, and when you turn it up loud, and we have, you have no vehicle vibration anywhere. You can drive that bass throughout the car. It sounds good from front to back, and it really delivers a nice, detailed, crisp sound. So, very impressed overall. Part of the reason that the ride characteristic is so nice is the way that the suspension's been set up. They've chosen to go with two different types. We have strut suspension at the front and multi-coil at the back. That really does a nice job of dispersing the weight that you have, not only with the engine but also with the load. So it smoothens things out and makes sure the ride is kept nice and balanced. So, to sum up the driving experience of the Atlas, very pleasing. I really like the way that Volkswagen have handled the styling so that, as with most other Volkswagen cars, every bit of your attention is on the drive. That completely translates to how the instruments work out. We have a fully digital display and it's not bothersome at all. You can be selective with it to make sure the information that you want is being displayed, and it works very nicely in concert with the digital infotainment display in the middle. The ride itself is very comfortable. I think I already said that. I like it a lot. My only setback with this car really would be an issue of power. Do I have enough? What am I going to say? It's a 7-person car for transporting people around. I think that there is more than enough power for everything you're going to be likely to want to do with it. That said, always I could use a little bit more, a bit more urgency when I put my foot down. The braking is nice, the handling is crisp, the steering is responsive, and I'm reliably informed by Michael, the passenger experience isn't a bad one either. So now it's time for the sum up. What exactly did we think of the Volkswagen Atlas? Well, I have to be completely honest. I'm a bit of a sucker for the minivan. Yeah, I know, but really in your life there's only one reason why you're ever going to want to buy a 7-seater car, and that's because the amount of people that you have to transport has grown out of the size of vehicle that you have to do it. And for me, when I arrive at that point, I'm a sucker for the minivan. Now I get that a lot of people arrive at that stage in their life and they think, no way, I'm not going to take the extra step. I can't do it. And this is a fantastic compromise for that situation. For me, if you want to have an SUV, it's all about power and style. Now, this is not going to take away an F-150 from your driveway. It doesn't have the guts or the pull capacity of that. But you know what? It does pretty well. It's not going to take away a Jeep from your driveway. It'll go off-road, but you're not going to drive it through a swamp. And it's not going to take away the Escalade off your driveway if what you want is spinning rims. But I think if you need to transport 7 people, everything is going to be about compromise. And this car does that really, really well. It comes in a lot cheaper than its bigger, more expensive brother. I say bigger, mostly I'm thinking about the price. Unbelievably, you can still only fit 5 people in that. This will take 7 and starts from $30,000. Wow, that's slightly cheaper than the competition. This car that we have right here, and it is pretty well spec'd out, is only $50,000. And I think you get an awful lot of car for that money. My concerns with the car would be that we found that the engine had pace, it did pick up, but don't forget there were only 2 of us and fairly limited luggage in the back. It is a V6, it is a 3.6 litre, so I'm pretty confident that if I put 7 people and their equipment in here, the car's still going to be fine, but it does make me question how would the smaller engine get on. I think if you're thinking about going with the cheaper option, you should definitely give that a test drive first. But, bottom line, if you have 7 people to transport, and if you want to keep a little bit of your youth about you, so an SUV is what you're going for, This is a great car. It has stacks of room, the drive and handling are excellent, and overall, 2 thumbs up. That's all, folks. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch us. Please, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, put them in the comments below. Please subscribe. Thank you for spending your time with us, and we hope we'll see you next time.